A woman was on a plane, and the man next to her apparently was texting that she was a smelly fatty, and she called this body shaming, and for some reason, this became a news story. So I don't know if this is indicative of just a really pathetic news media, or this is an issue that people really care about. So you know what? It is a story. People have talked about fat shaming. So today, we are going to dive into the issue of body positivity, health at any size, and fat shaming. This is the Culture War Podcast. So this first story, we're going to start with the most recent one. It's a woman on a plane, and some guy's texting her. Someone else intervened. Do you want to read the quick summary of the story, Emily?
This woman is sitting next to a man who texted in large print that he was sitting next to a smelly fatty. And she saw it, and she started quietly sobbing or crying. And another man sitting in the aisle next to him saw what was happening and then asked the man to switch spots with him so he could comfort her. It made her day. The flight attendant brought him a bunch of free drinks. It was a heartwarming story.
Oh, wow. So I have to imagine that if something like this became an issue of body shaming or something, this was some nasty individual who was like holding his phone to someone's face, calling her names, right? Like he was actually attacking her, right?
No, she just oversaw what he was texting.
Oversaw?
Yeah, not overhearing.
She
but
foresaw?
You mean she was looking at his phone?
Yeah, I mean, he had the big text, like the enlarged text for not being able to see very well.
There's a photo of this guy, isn't there?
Yeah.
And what does this guy look like?
I mean, he's like bald and has big glasses on.
Big glasses on.
Sunglasses, I think.
So, does he look like an old guy?
I can't tell. I mean, it's just kind of the back of his head and his
He's got
profile.
big glasses on. Is it possible that he's wearing big glasses because he's got bad eyes?
Well, they look like sunglasses.
Is it possible he has bad eyes?
It's possible. Yeah, that's probably why the text was enlarged.
So, how does this become an issue of body shaming? Literally, so if a guy's sitting there texting, insulting the person next to him, he didn't attack her. He didn't call, you know what I mean? He didn't say anything to her.
Yeah, he just called her a smelly fatty to whoever he was texting. And
then this became some issue. So first, let me just rag on the media. And then I'm going to rag on myself for even talking about this story too. But, I think this is indicative of a larger issue of this healthy at any size body positivity movement that's been going on. There's a story that I remember from a few years ago. There was a news anchor, a woman, who was overweight, and somebody wrote her a letter, and then she wrote back and published both letters. So apparently one of the viewers was like a middle-aged guy who said, very politely, "You're a role model to young women everywhere, and you should consider being healthy and getting in shape so that you could inspire young women to do the same." And then this anchor took that as body shaming, got offended by it, and then published it and said, "How dare you, I just had kids, I am healthy, and I don't need, the doctor says I'm healthy and stuff," and turned it into attack when it was actually a guy kind of complimenting her, saying like, "You're in a position of influence," but then it became offensive.
I think the problem there is anyone will have a problem with somebody telling them how to live their life, especially if they're happy with how their life is. I don't know I don't even know who the anchor was or what they look like. Whether or not they were overweight,
yeah.
Like in a morbidly obese kind of way, or just a little extra kind of way?
I would say obese.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, obesity is just not healthy.
Right. And so this was it wasn't an issue where a guy was saying, "You're a fat slob, you disgust." No, it was a guy being like, "You should consider getting healthy because you're a role model to young women everywhere, and healthy lifestyles are better and you'll live longer," and something like that. It was really tepid, and it was kind of just a guy, whatever. People send stuff. But it became an issue of victimhood, and I think this is one of the big issues around this, like the idea of the culture war, is the perpetually offended victim group, where everything is an attack, or they're oppressed, or there's whatever we want to call these factions. There's one group that has like a hierarchy of oppression, and another faction that just is like, we don't care if you're offended or not, or it kind of disregards actual oppression in a lot of ways.
Well, I don't know if this woman falls into that category because she
Which
just kind of...
News anchor or airplane?
Oh, no, the airplane one.
Yeah.
Because she sort of just internalized it and didn't make a thing out of it.
She posted about it on Facebook.
She did after the other man stepped in and told the other guy off. And it was that she was posting about.
Right, okay. But now let's take the more egregious example. There's another story from last year, which is basically the same thing. This is kind of why I wanted to talk about this, because it happened again, but it's just so dumb. Like, here, do you want to read the older story?
Yeah, so this second one from July of 2017, a plus-size model was mocked by a fellow passenger for her weight. She said that as soon as she sat...
Hold on. She was mocked by him?
Yeah.
So he actually verbally like insulted her. And,
so it says that she was mocked for her weight.
What really?
So what happened was she sat down, and then the guy sitting next to her started loudly huffing, sighing, and readjusting himself in the seat, and then began furiously texting someone. She said that the man would purposefully turn his phone away, so she couldn't see what he was writing. And then when he turned his phone back again, she took a quick peek and was hurt by what she saw. And the text said, "Hopefully she didn't have any Mexican food," one of the texts read, to which the man replied, "I think she ate a Mexican."
Wow. Racist and a fat shamer. But you know what? He didn't say anything to her, did he?
And she couldn't have known that he was definitely talking about her.
Yeah, how did she know he was actually talking about her?
He could have been talking about a coworker.
Did he say this woman next to me?
Yeah, I think it was implied, but she also
Implied?
said...
That means somebody assumed.
Yeah.
But she confronted him about it.
And he said, yeah, stop reading my phone.
Yeah, was he like, why are you looking at my phone?
So
you
she asked
eavesdropper?
she asked the man on her right what was going on and asked if he'd switch with her, but he laughed and refused. That's fine. That's not his issue. This is a fat person's daily reality and not just on a plane. It just goes into how this is
What
a common
outlet
thing.
is this? Are you reading from?
This is ABC 7.
ABC 7?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Following the interaction, the man apologized and offered to take her to dinner.
Was that an insult?
I don't know. It wasn't
Oh,
said.
you're sad? You want some food?
Oh my God.
No, I mean, like, I'm being
Yeah.
serious. Like, was he?
Did I hurt your feelings?
Yeah. Do you want to eat now?
Want to go to a buffet?
No, I'm not trying to be a dick to
I
the
know,
woman. Like,
but it doesn't say that.
I'm
It
wondering if the
doesn't-
guy was actually like
He
being a dick, you know what I mean?
apologized.
I'm gonna air quotes here. Apologized.
Yeah.
No, look, when ABC 7, listen. So we'll pause for another for the millionth media criticism I can give. ABC 7 said he mocked her,
Yes.
but that implies that he's sitting there like poking fun at like to her face,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
saying things
A
to her.
really personal sort of.
So this is what's really interesting about this is it's basically the same story as the first. A woman was looking at someone else's phone while they were privately criticizing them.
But she actually stood up for herself and said,
No, right. Sure. But the idea is, why are you looking at other people's phones? Mind your own business. I'm sure, like, I go on planes all the time, and like, people are insulting me. I'm like, when I get I have free upgrades because I've got status, and then everyone's wearing a suit, and here I am all like, grody street clothes with my skateboard. I'm sure they're complaining to all their friends. Oh, I got some like grody skateboarder guy with dirty feet. Oh, I'm in first class. What's going on? I don't care. Like, hey, buddy, welcome to the airplane. We all got to share space now. Everyone's gonna be farting as soon as we get to 10,000 feet anyway.
it seems like the.
Recycled farts.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like, because the pressure changes, everybody starts farting once the plane goes up.
Yeah, but don't they recycle the air? No,
Yeah, I'm sure it
not
gets
as much
filtered.
as they used to. Apparently, the air when people would actually smoke on planes was recycled more than it is now.
Well, I'm sure it's filtered to a certain degree, but the
Yeah.
but
Back
the
then,
point
you could open
is
a window too. 'Cause,
what?
like in the 50s, planes had windows, right?
And you didn't even have to worry about getting
windows,
sucked
colors.
out.
Yeah, because going 200 miles an hour is no problem. No,
they had to
I
wear
mean,
goggles.
I'm pretty sure like commercial flight for the most part has been jets, hasn't it? Why are we talking about
Yeah,
commercial
yeah.
flight now and farts in
kidding.
airplanes? Let's get back to the subject at hand.
Right.
So you've been doing a lot of research talking about this
Research.
like
Yeah.
research what?
On airplanes and.
No, on fat shaming and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a few different directions we can go to start. The one thing I want to point out is that this has been like an issue of the culture war for a while. I remember Milo Yiannopoulos fat shamed a guy in the gym.
How dare he?
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Seriously.
And I'm like,
How exactly did he do it? What did he say?
he went. Milo was at the gym, and there was a fat guy working out, and Milo took a picture behind him, and then like posted about it, mocking him.
That is so counterintuitive.
And that's what I said. I was like, you won. Congratulations. You have shamed, like this man has decided to go to a gym to improve himself. This is the point at which you shake his hand and say, thank you. You're doing a good thing. You're taking care of yourself. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Instead, Milo's like, I'm going to rag on this guy.
That's awful.
Yeah.
The guy is trying to better himself.
That to me says it was more about tribalism. like in this like culture war mindset where when I see that, I think Milo was truly just trying to earn some Twitter points or something, or Facebook points, to be like, look at me, guys, I'm making fun of fat people, instead of what the actual issue is that you've got a group of people who are perpetually offended, like this woman who shouldn't have been offended. She shouldn't have been reading some other guy's phone. And then people who are actually denying science by saying that they're healthy. Count Dankula did a video.
Oh, God.
Yeah, do you want to...
That was really good.
Do you want to summarize it, basically?
So there's a body positive activist named Rachel Wiley who has she does poetry, and she presents her poetry, and I can't remember. I think this one was called the Fat Joke, and it's about her going into her doctor's office, and every time she goes in, he's prescribing her, weight loss surgery, or consider weight loss surgery. Start exercising. And he's basically saying, you should probably lower your body weight and you won't be in here as much. You won't have as many problems. And Count Dankula does a really good critique on her poem. It's funny. It's called ham poetry. If you want to look for it. Yeah, if you want to look for it.
But there was one point where she says that, when she's feeling depressed, she's told to start exercising, as if her fatness is what's making her depressed. And it's like, no, it doesn't matter if you're overweight or skinny. No matter what, if you're depressed, they prescribe exercise. Exercise makes you feel good, gets you in shape, and it triggers, endorphins or whatever that can help relieve depression. So it's interesting that she talks about health ailments in this video, and the doctor says, there was one point where the doctor's like, your blood pressure is really low, so he has to check it 3 times because he wants to make sure, because she's like, as if a fat person could have blood pressure so low. When I heard that, I'm thinking, no, the doctor's probably like, hey, this is unhealthy, like your blood pressure is low, we better make sure, because your blood pressure shouldn't be so low, right? Like you could be dying.
Yeah.
It's a doctor's supposed to do. And so there's been like a movement over the past few years of, I mean, look, it's one thing when we have like plus size models and they're actually not really that fat.
Right, and they're like gorgeous too.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about these like morbidly obese models. That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
Like the Dove Real Beauty campaign, I kind of shrug. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Because a lot of those women are just like regular looking women.
Yeah.
But then you have these models who are actually morbidly obese. And one thing that I find really interesting about it is that their faces are always slim. Have you noticed this?
I'd
slim-ish.
Some of them,
yeah.
Sure.
But then it's like their bodies are morbidly obese.
So the models are never the face fat and body fat. It's like the unique overweight people who have a
this
face.
is true for like, I think most pop culture and modeling when it comes to issues of like when they want to be diverse, or they want to have like a plus size model or a ethnic model or something. The faces always look kind of the same. Like there's a standard of beauty. So they act like they're being diverse when in reality they're just targeting the same kind of thing, And
yeah, I think it is good to see more diversity in models, so it's not just really stick thin people. But obviously there is the usual aesthetic idea of beauty where it's like symmetry and proportions and stuff. But I do think we're moving in the right direction, having different shaped bodies, because obviously not all bodies are the same shape, but
I honestly just don't think it doesn't matter.
The ones that are obese and saying, this is fine, it's okay to be obese, that's dangerous.
There was a really interesting documentary on the front page of Reddit today about fat tissue. And one thing that I didn't know, and I'm assuming this documentary is telling the truth, is that this guy says, those people that are so big they have to get a forklift to pull them out of their homes, those people rarely have diabetes. And that was interesting to me. And what he was saying is basically when the body can no longer store fat, it puts it in really bad places like the heart, muscle, tissue, whereas those people who are really big just keep having more and more fat cells so they can hold the fat. But people who can't, they get diabetes. I found that really interesting.
Yeah, wow.
But I guess I don't want to go off on a tangent about a documentary and fat cells and all this stuff. Science is fun. But what I want to point out is kind of like the anti-science surrounding this movement. It's funny because the left often talks about how the right is anti-science, and then you have like this March for Science in DC, and it tends to be a bunch of like Democrat Hillary supporters, mostly women, and I'm sitting here like, yeah, everybody denies science. They just pick and choose which science works for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, you were looking up a bunch of studies, So, which
Yeah.
well, let's talk about fat shaming.
Yeah. Which I do think there are lots of people out there who are vehemently against fat people or associating with fat
Just hate
people.
'em.
Or, yeah, I definitely personally
Fattest.
have come into contact with people who have a really serious aversion to fat people. And I don't.
Like they just hate 'em?
Yeah, just hate them. And
Yeah, I think that's. I agree. I think there are a lot of people who just like when Milo ragged on a guy in the gym. I'm like, dude, like that's like genuine hate.
yeah, and
But
I think,
I'm not saying you're not allowed to say it. That's important distinction. By all means,
Sure.
rag on whoever you want. I just personally think it's stupid.
yeah, I mean, I just don't think people should be dicks to each other.
Yeah, there's no reason to share your mind. Like, to be honest, every time I see a fat person, I do think they could better themselves,
Yeah.
But I don't tell them to do it because if you
No,
tell them
no,
to do
whoa.
it, it's offensive.
No, that I don't care about that. Like I think if you politely told someone like you should start exercising and taking care of yourself, eating healthier, if they
A
get
friend,
offended, you know
yeah.
what, man, that's on them.
But a random person, you shouldn't even have the conversation.
I don't know about
I'd
that.
say if you really
No.
care about someone and you think that
Well,
they're
that's what I mean. If you meet someone who's overweight in the subway and you have a conversation with them, you're not going to be like, you're a
lose
little
some-
overweight though.
yeah.
You should work on that.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
not? People shouldn't be so sensitive.
Yeah.
No, we like, man, people are overly sensitive in our society. It's true.
sure some people are.
You're gonna get your like.
Uh-huh.
We've got one of the biggest issues with like social justice warriors or whatever they want to call it, and this is not unique to the left. This includes the right as well. Just these kind of people who are offended or I don't know, just generally outraged. It's like get some thicker skin, Does it mean be mean to people? No, but if you see someone. And look, I think it would be weird if you walked up to a random person like, "Hey, you should lose weight."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you struck up a conversation with somebody and you were like, "Hey, man, like I would love to encourage you to improve yourself and to do what you can." And did you know that if you cut out sugar, you could lose a ton of weight, sugar right off the bat? People shouldn't get offended by that. Mm-mm. But it's like the first step in the problem of, I guess I don't even know what you'd call it, snowflakeism or something. This idea that a woman on a plane can look at a guy's phone and get offended by it, and then ABC News will say he was mocking her. Well, no, she was eavesdropping on him. He can say whatever he wants to his friends. He might not even meant it. Maybe he was just trying to be edgy. He's trying to be like, hey, I'm funny. I'm going to text my friend.
I think that was the case in the first one, the smelly fatty one, because I saw how the woman looked. She's really not that
Maybe,
fat.
or maybe the guy's a dick. Don't start reading other people's phones.
Yeah.
But so here's let's move on to the important discussion. I actually confronted Milo about this, and I said, you fat shamed a guy in the gym, and he said, well, you know what? It works. It does. It works. And I said, sure, okay, but the guy's in the gym.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you've done it.
what?
You've succeeded. And he goes, yeah, well, you should do it at home.
What?
Well, so I'm not here to rag on Milo. I'm here to take his point where he said it works, and let's talk about it. Does fat shaming work?
Here's the thing. There are some studies that say social pressure can lead to a lifestyle change in some people, and it's worked on smokers. But also body shaming can lead to more problems, including mental health issues, and that those mental health issues can lead to a bigger problem. So eating
is there any-
disorders for one are usually linked to a mental health issue. And so if you start criticizing someone who already has a low self-esteem, it's just going to kind of propagate the problem.
But there are some studies about this.
Yeah.
So there was, I think, a UCLA study that you pulled up earlier.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one I was just talking about. But
So
that's the one where I said it was criticized because of the mental health problems.
Yeah.
So that's basically it.
But there was, I think there was also some contradictory information. You mentioned something like people who are called fat tend to end up getting fat or something like that.
Yeah, there was one that said young women or girls who are called fat have a higher tendency to become obese later in life. There was also one of the criticisms of the social pressure one said that the reason it works on smoking rather than obesity is you can tell a smoker to stop smoking cigarettes, but you can't tell a person to stop being fat, which if you think about it,
You can tell them to stop eating.
You can say skip
That's
dessert.
even worse though, right?
Stop eating altogether.
Well,
You tell a fat person to
well, no,
stop
but
being fat. It's one thing.
there is a
Yeah.
challenge with dieting, right? A lot of people don't diet right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there are people who are like, I'm going to go vegan because it's better for the environment and because it'll help me lose weight, and then they eat nothing but spaghetti. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah, that's not
right.
gonna help.
Yeah, I think my friend calls them junk food vegans, where they just eat things, you know, so they're not getting protein, they're not getting omega-3s, they're not getting what they need.
Right.
And they, you know, if you're poor and vegan, yeah, I'm sorry, it's probably not going to work. Veganism is a luxury. It seriously is, because you need to balance out your diet. You need to make sure you're getting the right amount of vitamins, proteins. Like, you're going to want to buy a lot of flax, you know, maybe ground up flax bread or something to get those omega-3s because you're not eating fish. Poor people, you know, growing up on the south side of Chicago, all of my friends who were vegan and poor would eat like Kraft mac and cheese 3 times a day. I'm like, pretty sure you're going to die.
Yeah.
You know, because
That's-
those bags under your eyes and your fingernails are looking pretty screwed up right now because you're not getting any vitamins. I mean, not only that, but I mean, if you're poor in general, a lot of the food you're getting is crap, like,
Right.
you know, McDonald's cardboard burgers or whatever.
Yeah, that's the saying. It's expensive to be poor. Like, poor people have a lot more health problems. They have a harder time getting healthy because they don't have access to a lot of the materials needed.
So there's 2 Reddit communities I want to highlight. r/keto, right? Which is enthusiastic people. Like, keto is almost like vegan, but it's kind of it's almost the opposite.
Almost,
yeah, but it's like
ideally.
so for those that don't know, keto refers to the ketogenic diet. I don't know. Do you want to explain it?
Yeah, ketosis is when your body goes into from a sugar burning mode for energy, and it switches to burn fat for energy. So it kind of happens because sugar is toxic, so your body burns sugar first.
Wait. That, I think, is biased.
No, sugar is literally toxic.
But according to what?
Science.
But who? Okay. There's a lot of science that says glucosis is the natural state of the human body, burning glucose for energy. And then there's now emerging science that says ketosis is the natural state, burning fat for energy. Mm-hmm. So the one argument is that your body burns off sugar because it's toxic and it wants to get rid of it first.
But it's also high energy.
But your brain can only function off of glucose.
That's not true. Your body can make
glucose. Gluconeogenesis.
From regular food. Yeah, you don't have to eat sugar.
But
it would take you 30 apples to get like 2 cans of soda's worth of sugar. So 10,000 years ago, nobody was. You know,
for sure.
You're not eating 30 apples a day
no one
either.
could eat 30 apples in a day.
Well, that's why everybody's getting fat.
Yeah, there's too much sugar.
Oh, okay, so we won't have to debate keto, but yeah. I kind of want to just point out that there's a conflict. The keto people are like, it's right. There are a lot of nutritionists saying it's wrong, but the point is a lot of people are doing it, and it works. It's ketogenic. The ketogenic diet is a treatment for like depression and epilepsy.
It seems to cure almost everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
I've done a lot of studying of keto. I should probably say, I've been since like 2011. I've been doing keto for like 3/4 of the year, every year, and then I'll like take a break and eat junk food and then go back into keto.
Wow.
Because you've got a sugar addiction that you have to satiate at least sometimes.
No, I like to stop stressing.
Yeah. Why, you're stressed when you're on keto?
Once you're into it for a long time, I don't know, then you start missing. Like, I wonder what ice cream tastes like. It's been so long. I'm gonna spend a week eating ice cream.
So the keto community on Reddit is very enthusiastic, very happy, very positive. It's like every post I see is like, how can I improve myself? There's posts like, guys, I got this really cool recipe for this new food. Check it out. And then there's a lot of progress pictures where people are like, I've been doing keto for 6 months and here's my progress. And there's people getting in shape and losing weight. And then you have healthy at any size, which is, it's not a Reddit community I actually actively go to. I don't know. You want to see if you can pull it up? Just Google search healthy at any size. And this one comes off as a bit more defensive from what I've seen in the past. It's not, keto actually pops up every so often on the front page of all on Reddit. So like of all posts, you can just see it. Did you find it?
Yeah, it's not as active as keto is, I believe.
No, for sure. But there's this community of people who are actually really defensive, denying science, saying you can be healthy at any size. You literally can't.
No, I mean, I pulled up some obesity stats earlier, and just what happens to your body when you become obese and what happens.
Well, what happens?
Yeah. So, I'll first point out that over a third of the U.S. population, adult population, is obese. And
real quick, I want to say something. At my body size, if I gain 10 pounds with my BMI, like all the numbers or whatever, I'm considered obese.
Well, yeah, but that they specifically say if you're physically active, if you're an athlete, you have to take that in consideration.
According to the CDC, obesity is characterized as being over 95th percentile of BMI.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. 95th percentile, so it's percentage based.
So
Oh,
even
okay, maybe
then,
I'm
that's
overweight.
Yeah,
that
I think
means
overweight is
yes.
different than
So
obese.
makes
so
more
wait,
sense.
so over time obesity is going to disappear as everyone becomes obese, then everyone will be average, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's over a third, which means 70 million people, over 70 million people, and child obesity has been at a pretty steady rate in the past 20 years, where 17% of children are obese. And I'm not talking about overweight. I'm talking about legitimately obese.
I have a theory.
What?
So the reason why we're seeing what's that new show?
Oh, Dietland?
These are God, I haven't seen it, but they're like morbidly obese, right? These aren't regular obese.
I mean, the lead woman, I haven't really seen much of her body, but yeah, she is more than overweight.
No, but like an overweight person is somebody we would call chubby.
Oh, yeah, sure.
An obese person, you're like, oh, that person's obese. But morbid, like that model woman who's like rotund, like
Yeah,
really
yeah.
round. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but she's like very large. That's morbidly obese. Like it's like the extreme scale, like the 1% of.
99.9% is morbidly obese, maybe.
I think
or-
that, no, I think that's what it
like the
is.
scale goes
like
higher?
you're fat to the point of where you're like going to die. Your joints are probably screwed up. You know.
You're a skeleton in fat matter that can't.
Well, yeah,
move.
that's what the X-rays look like. Not the X-rays, but the MRIs. You can see like the normal human skeleton shape surrounded
well,
by,
yeah.
we'll call it adipose
a
tissue.
lot more muscle, probably.
But anyway,
a lot of muscle.
I don't want to get into an argument about what is morbidly obese or anything. Like people understand what I'm trying to say.
It doesn't morbid mean
But-
like leading to
definitely.
death?
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
So this show is a bunch of obese women, vigilantes.
I'm not sure all of them are obese, though.
Okay, just some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And it's called what? Dietland.
Dietland.
Here's my theory. You know why they made that show?
Well, considering
views?
it also has one of the main plot points is that they're killing alleged sexual predators.
Uh-huh.
I think that's kind of just jumping on a body positive anti.
Wait, what? Wait,
It's a
people
TV
are-
show
People
about
are killing
fat women killing
Alleged-
sexual offenders.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it seems like it's jumping on some current trends.
I don't think it's necessarily the trend per se, but as America continues to get fatter and fatter, you need to make shows that people can relate to.
Yeah.
And who doesn't relate to overweight people who are killing people? Who are
Well,
killing
they're
criminals?
heroes. They're vigilantes.
Yeah.
They're like, well, Batman doesn't kill people, but they kill sexual offenders. The point is, as Americans get fatter and fatter and fatter, we're going to probably start seeing a lot more shows with fat main characters doing
Well,
heroic things.
Doing heroic things, sure. But if you think about it, like Family Guy, Peter is obese.
But that's
As a joke.
And
Yeah,
but
that's true.
actually,
That is-
Family Guy.
They make a lot of fat jokes.
Family Guy is a derivative of The Simpsons.
Uh-huh.
And then in the episode they did a Family Guy where The Simpsons, Homer met Peter, they actually had Fred Flintstone be the judge. They were suing it, like Homer was suing the Family Guy for ripping them off, and the judge was Fred Flintstone. The point they were making is that the trope of the family with the fat idiot dad has been around for a long
Yeah.
time. But look, guys get old and they get fat. That's different. As people get older, they get fatter. They get less active. They still eat the same amount of food. You don't need as much food, and you gain weight. So having a show about like a dad who's like an overweight dad, it's kind of like, yeah. But what I mean is we're seeing a lot of body positivity. We're seeing the Real Beauty campaign. We are seeing a big push for overweight characters because there are a lot of overweight people who want to feel represented. And there are studios that are like, if we make this content, we can target the growing community of overweight people, right?
Yeah, but I don't think making a character that represents me as a buffoon isn't really endearing, you know?
But does Peter Griffin represent you? What do you mean?
I'm saying, like, you're saying that they're making characters that are overweight so people can relate, but it's the buffoons.
No, the women in this show are the heroes.
Oh, okay.
The apt and
You're saying in
capable
that show,
heroes.
I was talking about Family Guy. Yeah.
No, Family Guy isn't like Homer Simpson doesn't exist to make fat people feel good about themselves. In fact, there's an episode where Homer gets even heavier because he wants to get on disability.
And he has to wear a muumuu.
Yeah, and then he can't push.
Fingers too fat.
They're making fun of fat people. In
It's
there.
like
Yeah.
a classic episode, I
The-
guess.
That was
but
really
here's the
good.
thing: the point is, Family Guy and The Simpsons were making fun of fat people.
So
That
do
was
you-
it, a big fat idiot. Because people didn't relate to that. They mocked it. They looked at it and said, haha, that's funny.
So do you think the same way that they had to get rid of Apu, they're going to have to dial back on the fat jokes eventually?
I am waiting for the day when the body positivity movement demands Family Guy make Peter thin.
No.
Or
No, they won't
introduce...
do that.
They'll flip out.
What?
If they made Peter lose weight through an exercise or diet regimen or something,
Which he has.
people
like they've
would
had those story
probably
arcs.
find it offensive.
Oh, that they're getting rid of...
Fat.
Yeah, but Peter's an idiot. Do they want to be represented by a moron?
When they did make him lose weight, his head kept the same.
Yeah, his head was the same. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then there's like 12 episodes of The Simpsons where Homer gets in shape. That guy is a balloon dieter. There was one I was just watching, so it was on FX, where he's in a movie about a comic book character called Everyman. It's the second movie he's been in, apparently, because I think he was in the Radioactive Man movie too. No, he wasn't. That was Milhouse. But he gets a personal trainer who makes Homer super ripped. And then as soon as the personal trainer leaves, Homer goes on a binge and he gets really fat again.
Bart and Milhouse, thinking about it, they both have round bellies.
Well, yeah, like most of the Simpsons characters have guts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and then they actually made a joke about it at one point where like a hot woman walked past all the men, and they all looked like normal, like their stomachs were
Oh,
flat.
and then they exhale.
Yeah, and then I think it was like Wiggum or something. It was like, she's gone, boys, and they'll go, ugh, and then all their belts pop, like they let all their guts out. But there was a meme that I saw a few years ago, and it said, it was some kind of joke about uncovering the conspiracy, and it said the Dove body positivity campaign, and it showed a bunch of plus-size models who are not, they're overweight, and some of them are normal weight, so it's not obese women. These are just like,
normal.
yeah, like normal-looking women. They're not
Yeah.
super skinny, but I wouldn't call them fat. Some of them, yes, but most of them, I don't know.
Curvy.
Thick is like the is that what the
Yeah,
kids are calling it
because
today?
you can be thick but not fat.
Yeah, you're just like,
It's like if you have really wide hips
Right.
and your
curvy,
body is just
right?
yeah.
is that what it's called? But
Yes, yeah.
so here's what this meme says: Dove, which is promoting body positivity, is owned by Unilever, who also owns Ben and Jerry's.
Oh, snap.
So here's the conspiracy theory: Unilever has to make sure all of its brands can do well. But if there is a movement in this country that says stop eating the desserts, get in shape, they're going to lose money. So what do? Body positivity campaign. Who cares if you're fat? You look great. You can be healthy at any size. Have some ice cream.
Also notice it's a soap company that has nothing to do with the industry, because if Ben and Jerry's made the healthy at any size,
yeah.
it would be.
Right.
Well, so I mean, it's kind of a joke. I don't think.
Yeah.
I actually no. I take that back. There's got to be to some level someone working at Unilever being like, guys, we can't put out a campaign saying get thin and get healthy, because we will lose sales in other divisions of our company, right? So it's a conspiracy theory. But I mean, it's not so far-fetched. A company's got to look out for its best interests, and if they're selling ice cream and doing a body positivity campaign, yeah, there's a little
I know plenty
net
of
benefit.
normal-sized and, average-sized people who enjoy ice cream from time to time.
From time to time.
Yeah.
But think about a business. A business wants to sell ice cream non-stop. I assure you, the people who are running Ben & Jerry's would love it if they sold out. Absolutely. But that would mean people are eating pints, like several
day?
pints per day.
No, no.
But look at
I'm
this.
sure Ben and Jerry's has data on the increasing
Yep.
weight problem in America.
No. Every business wants to increase
Their
sales.
sales correlate.
Every business wants to increase sales. There's no point at which a company is like, well, we're good, we'll stop now. No, they're like, we want to do more PR. We want to get into more areas of the planet. Coke is basically everywhere trying to make it accessible. So would Ben & Jerry's ever come to a point where they're like, we're done? We've sold enough. No, they want to sell more. And they can't have other divisions of their own company negatively impacting their business.
Oh, now I really want ice cream.
Yeah, I guess we'll go get some after this. So there's another thing I want to bring up in this whole issue of body positivity. Remember that Beachbody ad that was I think it was in the UK?
Oh.
Do you want to pull this up? So I think it was last year. There was this ad and it said, get ready for your beach bod. And it was this very attractive woman in a bathing suit.
Yeah.
And everybody got mad saying, that's not what real women look like. like, yeah, actually, a lot of women do look kind of like that. You know, it's
Probably
like
is Photoshop though.
yeah, no, that I think photoshopping in the industry is BS, and it's making people screwed up in the head.
Yeah.
Making women's eyes bigger, making their cheeks thinner. There was a really funny meme where it wasn't a meme, but it was a video where a guy said like, "Here's what a woman looks like without Photoshop," and then it takes a beautiful woman and slowly starts reversing, but then eventually you realize he turned her into a piece of pepperoni pizza. So it was like a gag.
Yeah.
But anyway, to the main point, the new body positive Beachbody ad came out, and this made its rounds on Reddit. This kind of stuff actually scares me. So you had a fit, attractive woman, and there may have been Photoshop, and the Photoshop I don't agree with, but it was just, you know, an attractive woman in a bikini. Now you have several morbidly obese. Okay, I'm drawing that distinction. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm saying
I wouldn't call them morbidly obese.
we have this photo. I think, you know, this is the podcast, so a lot of people are listening, but for those that are watching, we'll throw a screen grab of this up, I guess. But okay, so I think morbidly obese was a stretch, but these are obese women, and this is the ad that is the socially acceptable version. And I kind of take issue with this because that is still not representative of the average person. The average person is not fat. A third of people are. Which means when they make ads, they're caving into a minority who is offended for no reason. And what about thin women? Are thin women not allowed to have billboards now? One thing that's been really interesting in this whole like fat shaming fiasco is that thin shaming has become acceptable. They're making fun of anorexic women now. Like, oh, you're thin. There's one where it's like a woman's wearing a shirt and it says, "No, you're thinner than me, not prettier."
Or there was I can't remember if she was a musician or a model who said, if you're a size 0, then you're nothing, technically, or something like that. And it was basically saying, like, it was ragging on skinny people.
Yeah, there's like a weird phenomena in this whole, I don't know, culture war, where the people who claim to not be oppressors are oppressive. Where the people who are claiming like body shaming is wrong, then literally go and body shame thin people. The people who are like racism is wrong, literally just go and be racist towards other ethnicities.
Well, I also
or
think
races.
part of the problem is nobody is talking about the health issue of being obese.
Well, they're trying to.
There is no health issue of being obese.
What does that mean?
Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, healthy at any size.
Yeah.
I mean, Google search
Anorexic,
healthy at
obese.
any size.
Right.
Morbidly obese.
The
you're fine.
CDC has a list of health consequences of obesity, and it's high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, stroke, gallbladder disease, osteoarthritis, which is the breakdown of your cartilage in your joint, sleep apnea and breathing problems, cancers, then it gives a list of cancers, low quality of life, mental illness such as clinical depression, anxiety, and other mental disorders, body pain, and difficulty with physical functioning.
Wasn't there just an ad somewhere in Europe that said the number one cause of cancer, and then the thing rolls and it says obesity?
Oh, really?
Yeah. You want to see? I don't know. Try and
I'll
Google
look
it.
it
But
They're
it was
calling obesity a cancer?
No, it's the number one cause of cancer is obesity, something like that. And then once again, the body positivity outrage happened where everyone was like, "How dare you? You can't say this." And what was interesting about it is that you found it?
Obesity is now the leading cause of cancer.
Do you want to? And who's this from? Who's saying that?
National Cancer Institute?
Yeah, what country? Which national?
Obesity is the UK's biggest cause of cancer after smoking. That's Cancer Research UK.
Cancer Research UK stated this. And yeah, right.
That's
So there was an ad that went up. People got offended. This is the UK's National Cancer Institute. What is it? The Cancer Institute of the United
Cancer
Kingdom?
Research UK.
And people are like, that's offensive. Facts are offensive. But no, let's be real. That's what's scary. Facts are offensive.
Yeah, because you're trying to shut them out your whole life. You don't want people to tell you your problems. You know, you're
There's
trying to ignore them.
There's a short film that I don't know when it came out, but it's called Alternative Math, where this little boy comes in and he thinks that 2 + 2 is 22, and when the teacher tries telling him he's wrong, he brings his parents in, and then his parents call the teacher a Nazi for not entertaining like a free thinker, and then she gets fired. But the point is, basically, if you're offended enough, you can actually change facts.
You know what is also kind of blows my mind is based on these studies that I was looking at, it does show a very large correlation between class and obesity, where people who are typically poorer, have less education, have a much higher tendency to be obese. So basically it's because they have such poor access to healthy foods and healthy lifestyles that they become obese, and telling people, oh, that's fine, you're fine, don't worry about it. That's pretty.
I don't know if that makes sense to me.
No, I'm saying if they say that's fine, it's okay
What
to
I
be
mean
obese.
is like, there's the Maduro diet in Venezuela, right? Like you literally starve to the point where you can't eat. So the people who are poor are relatively poor in the U.S., but still wealthy enough to buy a lot of food.
Right, but we're talking about people who also will do multiple meals that are off the dollar menu at a fast food chain.
But that's actually expensive. Like imagine if they went to a grocery store and bought a bag of tomatoes and some lettuce and
But you're
some meat.
assuming that they have more than just a corner store to go to that have fresh produce.
In the United States?
Yeah, there's a lot of communities that don't have more than just, bags of chips. And
I mean, most places in the U.S. and urban places, you're going to be able to get like a pack of cheese and some like tomatoes. Like even in the bad neighborhoods of Chicago.
There was a tweet recently that showed a supermarket in Baltimore, and it had all these high fructose corn syrup foods
That's
and
normal, yeah.
And processed, lots of sodas and chips and and everything else was pretty
But
much
soda
empty.
is a luxury item. Soda is expensive. If you're poor, you're drinking water, tap water. It's basically free, right? So I get it. Relative to Americans, there's poor people that choose poor. I think what I'm trying to say is maybe the correlation isn't that poor people are fat; it's that fat people are poor. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is that people who make poor life choices end up becoming poor or stay poor, and people who make the healthier choices are planning ahead. Somebody who's going to be like, I need to exercise today so I feel better tomorrow, is also someone who's going to be like, I need to save money today so I'll be better prepared tomorrow. As opposed to someone else who's going to be like, I've got $10, I'm going to buy a Coke with it instead of drinking water. That's the same kind of person that's going to be like, I just got $10, I'm going to spend it instead of saving it for the next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, my take on it's not scientific, not based on any stats. I just think there is a kind of strange logic of being poor, but also having the money to drink sugary sodas and eat starchy foods when it's cheaper to buy a tomato than it is a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese.
But just based on the research I was doing, it shows that lower income neighborhoods, states in general, and populations have higher obesity rates.
Right. What I'm saying is, why? First, let me ask why. Did they say why?
I think, yeah, it's access.
Also consider poor people don't have all the free time in the world, maybe, because they work as much as they can.
And they've got to go with faster options.
They
So
don't
a lot
have
of
time to go
time
home and spend an hour and a half cooking their
yeah.
dinner.
Yeah, but that doesn't explain why they drink Coke. You can drink water. I mean, look, at some level there is a cultural problem.
Well, soda is normal in America. You're supposed to drink soda all the time.
Yeah, just nonstop. Well, switch to diet. No, but when I worked at the airport when I was 18, I would grab an orange on the way in, and I would peel it as I was walking in, and I would eat it, and then rinse my hands off in the bathroom and get to work. One single orange, very good for you. There's a lot of sugar in an orange, but certainly not 5 times sugar like a glass of orange juice would have. And it was nutritious, and you eat all the pulp and everything, not the peel obviously, but you pull out the slices. Man, oranges, awesome. And it cost me like 40 cents. Seriously, like 40 cents for an orange. And so I was saving money. What I'm saying is I think it might be that people who make poor choices about their food probably also make poor financial choices as well. I'm not saying there's a greater cultural civil war argument of if they're being oppressed by a capitalist society who isn't taking care of them, and the government should choose their food for them or something like that.
Well, I think you also get people who are stuck in a cycle of poverty in certain neighborhoods.
Does that mean they can't spend 40 cents on an orange for lunch?
But I think... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
But people aren't sold the idea of wake up in the morning and have an orange. No, they're like, have a whole glass of the best stuff from the orange. And then,
I read, I don't know if this is
Then
true, this
grab a
might be
soda on your way out.
apocryphal, but I was reading about how orange juice became a staple. And
so bad.
What I read was people used to have an orange for breakfast. They would have an orange, at a thing of oranges in their house. And in the early 1900s, there was a surplus. So you had all these farmers being like, we need to offload these oranges, but we've already sold to the stores. And so the PR guy, what's his, who's the famous PR guy? I'm talking about, the Freud's cousin or whatever? You don't know?
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his
Ed.
name.
I don't know, but basically this
He
guy
wrote the
said...
propaganda book, right?
Right. Basically this guy said, what we'll do is juice the oranges and sell the juice, and then tell people if it's got if one orange is healthy, 5 oranges is really healthy, and you can get 5 oranges in one glass. Now that's really healthy, isn't it? And so they actually would do these commercials where it's like, you can have the nutrition of 5 oranges in 1 glass of orange juice. When in reality, no. There's already a lot of sugar in an orange. 5 times the sugar is really, really bad for you. There's more sugar in there. And I believe it's all fructose, right? Like from an orange?
Yeah, fructose.
Yeah. And when you drink a soda, it's actually half fructose. Fructose has to be processed by the liver. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a scientist. Don't quote me on this. I have very poor understanding of most of it, but I do know that glucose is better than fructose, and you're getting not only more sugar than a Coke, but you're getting mostly fructose. So it was PR that made orange juice a thing, and orange juice is expensive, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's not just that. It's people are waking up and eating a whole box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which is literally just sugar.
But it's cheap.
Sugar wrapped in sugar. No, it isn't. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is
cereal?
like $6.
Yeah, but a box
for
of cereal
breakfast.
lasts like a week.
No, it doesn't.
No, eat one meal.
Dude, kids
For
will
one meal-
kids
yeah,
will
one
have
meal
like
a day.
I'll eat a
4
whole box of
bowls
Cinnamon Toast Crunch if I'm sitting there.
because it doesn't make you full. There's no
Yeah,
protein.
You just keep going.
So these kids will get the cereal because the commercials or for whatever reason, and then they'll eat a bunch of it and keep eating more. Like everybody knows that you eat like 5 bowls of cereal in the morning.
What?
Yeah, it's like
we watch you. We watch you do it. No.
Emily, I caught her eating. She had like 2 boxes of Apple Jacks in one sitting. Oh man.
yeah.
Two
You
glasses
have
of
it.
apple
But-
juice.
Obviously, not everybody's eating dozens of bowls in a single day.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people will have multiple bowls of cereal because cereal isn't filling. And it's nothing but sugar. And, they add vitamins to it, like a lot of the breakfast, but it's sugar. Like, so look, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, those little squares, what is that? That's wheat, right? Which is basically carbohydrates. Then they actually wrap sugar around. They roll it in sugar. So you got sugar wrapped in sugar, and then a bowl of milk, which is just fat and sugar. Well, it's lactose, so it's little, not as much, but still sugar.
And then you burn out by noon, so you have to go get a soda because it's got caffeine in it, or maybe a coffee or something.
Yep.
And then by the time 3 or 4 rolls around, you're burning out again, so you're going to need another soda.
That's the other thing too, man. Like
Sugar burns you out.
even getting away from sugar, it's the caffeine addiction that we have. Because people, even if you have like black coffee with no sugar, yeah, you're medicating. Caffeine is like a psychoactive stimulant.
You've heard the stories about cocaine being in Coca-Cola.
Oh, yeah.
And when the FDA or the government made them take the cocaine out, they put caffeine in there because they don't care that cocaine makes you feel good. That's not why it was in there. It's addictive. So they're putting it in there to make an addictive formula. And then caffeine,
But it makes you feel good. It makes you feel energized.
Oh yeah, it's good.
And
also.
caffeine does kind of the same thing. It's an upper. Caffeine's a drug.
Very similar, but it's
Yeah.
legal. And there was a lot of lobbying to keep it legal and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It would be
I think
weird if
it's funny that Coke was like, we're Coca-Cola. It's cocaine cola.
Yeah.
And then the government was like, well, cocaine's illegal, and they're like, we'll find something that basically does the same thing and put it in our drink. Like they didn't change the drink. The drug is still in it.
But it should be called Cafe-Cola.
Caffeine-Cola, or someone should make Caffeine-Cola.
Yeah.
copyright
Caffeine is a
that.
drug. It's in a ton of things. And I personally, I think one of the reasons is, I think the reason why you get a really big soda with fast food is because after you eat all of those French fries, which is just greasy, salty starch.
You need that energy.
Yeah, but the sugar's not going to do it. It's the caffeine. The sugar is going to make you dehydrated. It's going to make you feel sluggish, and you're going to feel miserable.
But it's going to taste good.
No, well, yes, and then you put in some drugs. Like think
Some legal
about
drugs.
this. I'm not
Maybe
even
a little bit of nicotine.
I'm not even exaggerating. You give a bunch of people horrifying food. McDonald's French fries, terrible. I hate them. I won't touch them. In fact, I won't even eat
But
McDonald's.
McDonald's French fries with a little bit of Coke sprinkled on it.
I get
be delicious.
no joke. Yeah, you put some uppers on French fries, people would go nuts for them. But that's what they do. After you eat a Big Mac and after you eat fries, you'll be put into a food coma. What do they call it? The itis, where you're just like sitting there half sluggish, like. Ugh. But what happens when you add a liter of cola?
Oh, you're back
a
up
liter.
again.
Boom, a liter of cola. Yeah, you get that big supersized drink, chock full of. The sugar probably helps for sure, but all that sugar and all that grease and salt and starch, your body's gonna be like You need a nap after that.
You're going to burn.
Unless you ingest a bunch of drugs and caffeine.
Take more caffeine. So you have to have
Yep.
caffeine throughout the day. In the morning, it's your coffee and then soda for the rest of the day. But I've never actually thought soda had an amount of caffeine that actually, like I could drink a soda at 10:30 and it's not going to keep me up.
That keeps me up.
Really?
Yeah, I don't drink soda.
There's another story I wanted to get to.
All right, let's do it.
All right, this one is more recent. It's from 10 days ago, and it's a woman who has a podcast called Woman of Size who went to Universal Studios in Los Angeles to a Harry Potter thing because she's a huge Harry Potter fan. And she wanted to ride she wanted to ride a Harry Potter ride, and her friend warned her, who was also a woman of size, that...
A woman of size?
Yeah, a
Are you
woman of
saying
size means
she was
obese. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's small sizes
A
too.
woman of size.
But that's, I guess, what...
Of immeasurable size.
You look.
This is what they're calling their
hold on.
podcast, okay?
I don't want to be a dick or anything, but I'm not going to use language that you are. I'm going to use the language most people understand because I don't want to say you're trying to explain everything to everybody. So we can say it's a couple of obese women. I'm not saying Emily. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm
This
gonna
woman
say...
of immeasurable size sounds a lot nicer.
Immeasurable size.
Immeasurable.
It does.
Unusual size.
Oh my God.
WOUS.
Can I get back to the story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so her friend warned her that she was asked to get off the ride because she didn't fit in the harness with the seat. And so knowing this, and also the friend got free passes to all the other rides, front of the line passes, because she couldn't ride that one for safety reasons. So the woman goes there with her friends. They get on the ride. They pull the harness down. And then the guy comes over and says, "I'm sorry, for safety reasons, we can't let you ride this." And she goes into this really winding thing on Huffington Post about it. And she basically, she keeps putting safety in quotation marks, saying, they keep saying it's a safety issue.
Well, can I say
Safety
real
in
quick?
quotation marks.
If that thing, if you're so fat that the thing can't go down and lock you in, it is definitely a safety issue. You know, we don't want you falling out, ma'am.
Right.
I was on a ride once where the bar couldn't come down all the way. And so it was one of those like sky jackhammer things where it's like, it looks like a hammer that spins around. And I went in, sat down, the guy pushed the thing down, but it didn't click into place. Like,
So to use your feet
this
to
was when
lock
I was
you in,
like
right?
12. So I was literally doing a handstand because the thing popped up. Because it didn't click down. Yeah, it's a
you
safety
gotta,
issue.
Like, throw your feet up against the
No, I was
ceiling
just
wall
like
and then
pushing.
holding it down.
No, I was. It clicked. It went straight up, and then I was holding my arms up against it like a handstand, and I was freaking out. And there's nothing you can do at that point because you're on a ride. You're screaming.
Everyone else is
and everyone's
screaming,
screaming
too.
too.
Screaming with you.
So you're screaming for bloody murder, dear
for
life.
your
I don't
life.
want to die. And
Everyone else
everyone's
is screaming for fun.
And the guy at the bottom's going, that kid's real scared. Yeah.
Oh, man. Anyway, so she goes into this whole thing about how it's safety, quote unquote, and then talks about how at Universal Studios in Orlando, the locking mechanisms on the Hogwarts ride were adjusted in 2010 to safely accommodate bigger bodies, but not before a man was inspired to lose weight so he could be allowed on board. That's wrong.
Good for him.
Exclusion and shame are not
never mind.
motivational techniques. They're forms of bullying. That contradicts exactly what she said the sentence before.
A guy said he was inspired to do better.
Because he wanted to be able
you
to
can
ride.
She
bully
said
someone-
shaming that you can't fit in a ride.
If you can bully someone to be healthier, is that bad?
That's the big question we want to ask.
I
once we get
just
to the
think
end.
bullying.
to bully the cancer out of someone, would it be bad if you did it? No, I'm saying seriously. If,
I think bullying in general is horrible.
Oh,
and
that's a good
awful.
question.
to
Actually,
traumatize someone to heal them, is that bad?
no. But hold on. That's actually a really good question. Yeah. If someone had cancer and you could insult them to the point where the cancer would go away, should you do it?
Yeah.
I mean, if
Hell
that was the
yeah.
only cure, yeah, obviously, but that's not.
But it would be weird when you're acknowledging, like, I'm talking to the cancer dude, not you. Just don't take this the wrong way.
Yeah, I guess you start with a disclaimer. Nothing personal.
Or do you have to not tell them? It has to actually traumatize them in order for it to work. You know?
Anyway, she goes on and says, exclusion makes me, a logical and educated person, believe that I am at fault for not fitting into this ride instead of recognizing that rides should accommodate all people's bodies. Apply this thinking to race or gender, discrimination, or disabled accessibility, and you have yourself the hot stew we're in today.
And you know what just happened? She explained, she used a bunch of examples of things that aren't choices.
Exactly. Disability is really not your choice, and your race as well.
I mean, some people do choose to be disabled. I'm not kidding.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
They'll
really?
they have their arms
Yep,
cut. They pay
yep.
to have the limbs
Wow,
removed.
I did
Yeah.
not know
Yep.
that.
It's
Okay,
yeah.
well that's
Yep.
I
It's got to be a
learned
mental
something new.
disorder, right? No, or they just.
I don't think you're allowed to call
Or-
anything a mental disorder. at
Yeah,
this
I don't
point.
think. Oh, yeah.
No, for real.
Might have
Because
offended
it's
someone.
body dysmorphia.
Like the peg arm dude from Family Guy.
Yeah.
Like you know,
But you know,
eating.
his chest is a peg too.
Oh really?
Yeah, they did it. He was in a sauna, and his whole body is just
Okay,
just
yeah.
wood. And then I
Or was
think
it a choice?
Peter was like, "How are you alive?" Yeah, but well, the gender question's interesting because she very well might mean male or female. In which case, if that's what she's using, gender to mean biological sex, she listed a bunch of things that aren't lifestyle choices. So yes, no matter who you are, it might be really difficult. You can lose weight. You can
Just, you know,
Yeah.
even if
cut that sugar out, man.
don't take dessert, you know?
Calories burned versus calories consumed. There is no fighting it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, there was a show I watched. I can't remember who it was. I think it was like Dr. Oz or something, where this woman was like, I don't eat more than my friends. I eat relatively, very little every day, and for some reason I can't lose weight. So they set up a bunch of hidden cameras and tracked her meals. And at the end of the day, they were like, how do you think you did? And she's like, well, I had a small breakfast. I had a salad for lunch, and for dinner I had just meat and potatoes like everybody else. And they were like, and what about snacks? And she goes, no. And they're like, now we're going to play the footage of you eating Ho-Hos and Twinkies and granola bars.
Oh, God.
And then she was like, but I only had a little bit. And they're like, how many calories do you think you consumed? And she was like, 1,500. And it was like 36. Because she was snacking nonstop. Mm-hmm. And so this is not, look, there are some people that do struggle with weight loss even when they do eat right.
Yeah.
That's true. I know people who are like, I'm barely eating, I can't lose weight. But I think a lot of people just don't understand the food you're eating is ridiculous. Seriously, go to Europe. Like if someone in Europe is listening to this, people from Europe come to the U.S. and you go to a diner and you order food and they bring out like a feast. Like you order a burger and the burger's as big as both of your hands and they give you a gigantic plate of fries. You go to Europe and order the same thing. It's microscopic.
Really?
Portion size is a huge difference between the U.S.
Well, so here's the thing.
What about prices?
It depends.
It depends on the country.
But
Yeah.
so
Like,
look.
is it cheaper in America than-
When everyone
Yeah,
around you is
usually.
eating the same kind of food, right? You're like, this is a normal amount of food. No. Oh my God. Go to a diner. You get a burger. The burger's ridiculously massive. Like when you order chicken fingers at the diners here, like in New York, they give you like 6 huge chicken tenders. Like they're massive. And then you get fries, and they bring out like a coleslaw. And I'm staring at all this food like,
And then a whole cup of
this
mayonnaise.
is
to dip
like
the fries
3
in.
people could eat this. Yeah, and then you get like a whole thing of mayonnaise and a whole thing of, like, I'm talking about like 2 ounces of each sauce. The burgers are ridiculous. And it's like, I mean, look at a Big Mac. Even though the food is getting smaller because they're trying to save money, a Big Mac is ridiculously
Yeah.
huge. It's crazy.
No, it's not. Big Macs are small now.
Yes, Big Macs are small now.
Yeah, they are. They're like
You mean like they're normal size?
tiny little burgers.
Dude, the portion size. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is you've got people who see their friends ordering a number 1 at McDonald's, and they're like, that must be a normal meal. No, that's like 2 meals. It's huge. But then when they eat 3 meals per day, they don't understand why they're gaining weight because they're eating they're just having breakfast, lunch, and dinner like everyone else.
You know what another issue is? Soda or sugar. If you want to lose weight and you don't want to go straight up keto and like,
Yeah, just drink water.
strong will dieting, you can just cut out soda, cut out pasta and bread. Or any of those 3 you will lose weight,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But when you go to a fast food place and you want to order a meal, well, it's 15 cents if I get the large drink with it. Otherwise, I'm just wasting money,
I still get water.
But
I
I'm
don't
saying
care.
like there's that
Yeah.
issue where you're
I don't drink
might as well
sugary
pay
things.
for something if
Right.
I'm gonna.
I think the content of what you eat matters a lot too. Like I know a bunch of skinny people who only eat junk food and they're tired all the time and they don't feel great. And I know personally that when I stopped drinking soda and I just kind of switched to LaCroix just to wean myself off at first. And this was years ago. And
Call
now
those lady sodas.
yeah, lady sodas. Now I haven't drank soda and I can't remember how long, but I just don't even want it anymore.
I stopped drinking soda like 10 years ago or something. But not. It's like I'll drink soda sometimes. Not like I'm religiously opposed to it or anything. I just avoid it. So maybe once or twice. But now when I have it, it's too sweet. It's insane.
Yeah.
I was at a diner, and I ordered an Arnold Palmer, which is half unsweetened iced tea and half lemonade, because that's the most I'll do when I want to have a sugary drink, half sugar. And it came out, and it was like drinking syrup out of a bottle because they use sweet tea. And I'm like, ugh, it's insane. I can't drink it. It's too thick. Like, hurts.
Yeah, some tea is insane.
Well, no, it's just when you stop drinking sugary drinks.
Well, that's what I mean. Like you're drinking
You
Nest
get
tea.
Yeah, you get addicted. Like the sweetness normalizes, And so when you stop drinking sugar, when you stop eating sugar, all of a sudden everything tastes sweeter.
That's why, like, when a kid makes Kool-Aid and then an adult goes to try some, it's like, holy crap. Because the kid
Yeah,
is
the
like,
kid-
this is normal.
This is great.
Yeah,
yeah.
This is delicious.
More sugar.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's about that time, but let's ask the final question. Should we shame people into losing weight?
With their consent.
Yeah. Hey, just want to let you know,
No.
I'm going to insult you.
Like, no, if I start gaining weight, guys, let me have it.
Yeah.
I need to know because it happens so slowly. I might miss it.
So here's the difference, I think, is when you tell someone that you care about, hey, I'm a little worried, like you put on some weight, you're not as active as you used to be. Is that shaming? Or
That's
is that
totally
No.
different. That's totally different because if you're like, hey, fatty,
Right.
why don't you go get a...
You smelly fatty.
So I
Yeah,
think
yes,
there's
he's
a way
really
to show your concern, because I feel like when you do it, it's not from a selfish place. I mean, I do think some people who actually do fat shame, like saying, "Hey, fatty, go lose some weight."
Or shaming somebody in a gym.
Here's another
Yeah,
issue, though.
that's
Just ragging
selfish.
on Milo for that.
Yeah.
I know people who are obese. I have childhood friends who are obese, right? And it's never been brought up, their weight, in a conversation, like hanging out with them all these years, you know? It's never been brought up. I mean, is it wrong that we never brought it up?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe we should have mentioned, hey, dude, you're kind of big. You know?
Yeah. But it's like there's some people who don't want to be active, who don't want to do it, and it's like, what do you do at that point? Is shaming the only thing that's going to make them actually exercise or eat right?
But yeah, that's the thing, though. They know they're overweight.
They don't care.
Yeah. They
Oh,
know.
that's not true.
But
Maybe they
need
care,
to be
but
reminded.
It really comes down to this. There are people who I think most people. This is the conversation we were having earlier. Why is it that if you say to someone, "Hey, you're thin," they're like, "Okay." Most people don't care if you call them thin.
Mm-hmm.
Call them fat. All of a sudden, people are like, "Oh."
Call them ugly. And then
Well,
you
yeah,
get
but
all bent out of
ugly,
shape.
but short and tall too, right? You say to someone like, "Hey, you're tall," they go, "Yep." But when you start talking about someone who's short, they get self-conscious.
I wouldn't say everyone though.
But
No,
not
but-
a super
Yeah.
tall dude called
But
you short.
they're
right? Hey, short.
there are people who are very self-conscious about being short because short is
Yeah, yeah.
considered bad
Exactly.
and tall is considered good and thin is considered better than fat. But these are just states of being.
Anything that doesn't look like the
Average.
ideological model. You know, women need to look like a female model, men need to look like a male model, and anything other than that is don't talk about.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this
No,
is not,
I mean, look at old sculptures, like Greek sculptures of beautiful men and women. They weren't like bodybuilders. In fact, women had a little. You couldn't really see much
those were like
muscle.
the wealthy women.
And
back
because
then.
there was
Yeah.
no processed food back then, they were all very lean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't eat 30 apples
know,
and gain
this-
weight. Like, well, no, the rich people were eating
And
all
drinking.
kinds of fruit
It's
all
like
day.
hedonism bought from Futurama.
Yeah, they
Where they like
were
pour,
able to
pour
get,
gravy
you
or
had
is
to-
it pour wine all over his body or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to work your ass
Hedonism.
off to be overweight back then. You had to spend a lot of money.
Yeah. So it was like you were rich if you were fat.
Yeah. And now it's kind of inverted.
This is. I think one of the things about this is also connected to the idea of like women in media and video games, and part of this discussion in the culture war is that body shaming is wrong. But no one ever talks about the fat guys. You know, no one ever says we need more fat men in TV shows. No one ever says Superman should be fat. They want a TV show like Dietland?
Yeah.
Where the heroes are fat women. Okay, let's get a superhero show where there's a male superhero who's morbidly obese.
Yeah, nobody cares about attractive men. you know?
Yeah, nobody cares that in video games the male characters look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like these are guys ridiculously ripped beyond imagination, and no one's going, why don't we have more regular-looking men? It's only the women.
Uh-huh.
And why is that?
I think it's because as a man, I say, I don't even look at it. Like, I don't care.
No, I think honestly, as a man, when I see like Thor, I'm like, man, I should work out more.
Yeah.
I don't go like, that's not fair. That's not what men look like. I'm like, damn, if I worked out, could I be like super ripped too? Maybe I should try harder.
I mean,
Well-
you could be ugly and super ripped, and it's still not. But I mean, you're still better off than being fat and ugly.
I mean, there's
And short.
I think there's more.
Genius, man.
There's more to the female body that can't be changed than the male body. Like the idea that big hips and big boobs are more attractive. You can't change that unless you go spend a bunch of money on implants.
But guys can have big hips and big boobs too. you
yeah,
know?
but that's easier
You know,
to fix. You know.
Is it?
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
we're talking about obesity.
Right, but I'm also talking about your body image thing, like you saying that men
Like-
don't really care.
Right, like
how
a
men
guy
are
who's
represented.
super ripped is somebody who chose to be super ripped. A guy who's super fat is someone who technically is choosing to be super
so
fat.
I'm saying the women who are upset that how women are put in video games being like big chested and big butts and stuff, like they're probably like, yeah, that's not what
No.
the average woman looks like.
Right, I understand the criticism of like scantily clad women who are overly busty. Mm-hmm. But I mean, in the same argument about what's attractive, we don't have anyone ragging on Chris Hemsworth or Dwayne Johnson.
Now, wait. If you were gonna draw or create the ultimate human being in the best shape possible, like the most genetically superior human, they wouldn't be obese. They wouldn't even be overweight, right? So if you're making a video game, you're going to make the genetically superior version of a human.
Well, I mean, like, it's peak human in comic speak, like Batman. Batman's like power is just called like peak human ability, where he's like ripped to the point a human can be ripped and agile and all that stuff, and so he's like a super overly muscular guy.
Why didn't they make Kratos in God of War fat? I mean, he's a god. He could be strong while
He's got
being
magic
fat.
powers.
Because gods aren't going to be fat.
Why not? Why can't God be fat?
Because
can be fat.
they don't need the extra energy
Buddha.
storage.
Maybe they do. Maybe God needs tons of extra energy to be God.
Wait, isn't Buddha fat?
Is Buddha a god, though?
He's not technically a god, right?
No, I think
Is he a prophet?
I don't know enough about it, but there's I don't think Buddha is fat,
He
but
was
I
just
know
a
what
real
you're talking
chill
about.
dude, right?
Yeah.
He was a real guy.
I don't know. Anyway, let's get to the we should wrap it up. And so the question was, should we shame people into losing weight?
No.
And my answer is actually I don't know, because here's my thing. I don't want to be mean to people.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to create a negative atmosphere. I certainly agree you have a right to be mean, by all means, but I think you're more effective convincing people by making them feel better. Mm-hmm. However, I know a lot of people who will never change, and they might actually need that negative reinforcement. Seriously.
Here's another thing, though.
So I just don't know.
Nobody...
I won't do it, though.
In these airplane situations, no one was fat shaming.
Yeah,
You know?
no one was.
You keep it to yourself, then you're not doing
Yeah.
anything, no outside,
But
unless they look at your phone.
That's fair.
But that's like another big that's what makes this the culture war. The fact that these women eavesdropped on someone else's conversation and got offended by it.
But besides that, it's like fat shaming. Like, why would you want to be mean to someone while you're trying to constructively criticize them? You
You
know,
want
there's
them
a
to listen
huge
to you.
difference between going to someone saying, "Hey, you're kind of overweight. I'm a dietitian.
I'm your doctor.
I'm your doctor." Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to exercise.
Even though your blood pressure is perfect, being overweight isn't. You could be healthier. You could feel better.
I want to end with a final thought. So I don't know if you want to add anything before we. I want to add that in the culture war, we've had instances where people were being offended at things we don't think they should be offended by, or even if they are offended, they shouldn't take it to the heights that they do. Comedy exists. Sometimes people don't like it, but that's it. You have a right to say it. But we're getting to a point now with these stories where people are being offended by things that weren't even said publicly, that weren't even said to them, that they actually invaded someone else's privacy, got offended by it, and then actually got media coverage. They're the perpetrators here. They're the ones eavesdropping. Like, can we not have private conversations where we rag on other people anymore?
I do think it draws attention. I'm not saying they should have looked at the person's text, but I do think the point was that it draws attention to attitudes towards a woman who wasn't even fat.
So what? It's a private conversation. That's the point I'm trying to make right now. I'm saying, like, moving beyond the idea of fat shaming. Mm-hmm. This woman shouldn't be looking at this guy's phone.
Sure.
Neither should the other passenger.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are invading someone else's privacy. And when you look at, like, the Count Dankula case, where what was the crime he committed? It was literally uploading. That's what he said. It was that he published the video. But what if you said something offensive in your own home and someone overheard you? What if in my apartment with the window open, some fat person walks by and I go, "Hey, there's a fat guy walking outside. Oh man, he's so fat." And then the fat guy overhears me listening into my house and then says, "That guy fat shamed me." In my own private house talking to my friends.
With the fraction of a conversation that I just overheard,
Yep.
I'm offended because I'm assuming he's talking about me.
And then all of a sudden everyone's like, "You're a bad guy.
Like-
You were fat shaming somebody." I wasn't even talking to him. Why was he listening to my conversation?
That's what's kind of weird about the airplane situation. Because if it were me, and maybe it's wrong of me, but if they saw my phone, I would either say, "No, I wasn't talking about you. Stop looking at my phone."
Well, think
You
about
know?
this way. What if the guy saw that she kept peeking at his phone?
So he
said, "Smelly fatty." Yeah. I mean, look,
yeah.
if someone kept looking over my shoulder at my phone, I'd do this. I'd do that. I'd be like, "Stop." I would literally text message, "This person keeps staring at my phone. They won't stop it." So maybe these people were like, "Wow, this person's spying on me. It's a smelly fatty." And then the person goes, "Oh, I'm being fat shamed."
But even
Don't spy
then,
on people,
if
man.
you smell, aren't you offensive to other people? Aren't you offending other people?
Well, it depends. Is the smell something you can or can't control? Right? If you are choosing not to take care of your own hygiene and then going into a public space like an airplane, dude, I was on a plane and they sat a family next to me with a dirty baby, okay? And it was like I'm not exaggerating. I was on the verge of throwing up nonstop.
The baby
no
needed a
disrespect
diaper
to the
change?
baby. Yes. And so I went to the flight attendant. I said, I'm not trying to be disruptive. I'm trying to be as respectful as possible, but I will throw up if I have to sit there. And they said, we can't do anything about it. And I said, is it okay if I stand for the duration of the flight? Look, this is exactly how I said. I was like, look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything, but they have a baby who's messy and it smells like, like human waste. I am going to throw up. Is it okay if I just stand over here by it was a big plane. It was like a 777. And he was like, you can do whatever you want, but when we're going to land, you have to sit down. And I'm like, okay. When it came time to land, they told me to sit down, and I said, can you ask them to do something about this? And they said, no, it's a baby. And so in that situation, I'm like, look, should they have taken care of their baby? Yes. Was it rude? Was it offensive? Absolutely.
You know what I would have done? I would have sat there. I wouldn't have moved. I would have pooped my own pants.
Yeah. And then
That'll show 'em.
take that. Take that. Now you
Show 'em.
smell it.
Yeah.
No, I like maybe they're nose
rash is
blind. They
worth
call
it.
it. Was it nose blindness? You can't smell it anymore because you smelled too
Oh,
much.
God.
But they had a baby sitting next to me, and I'm just like, what was you know what really got to me was that as soon as I sat down, the man sitting next to me didn't have the baby, and it wasn't his baby. It was like his brother's or something like that. And so then there was a man and a woman. The woman had the baby, and they were sitting together. And then it was one family traveling together. And the guy walks over and hands the baby to this other guy, who I'm assuming looked kind of like a brother. And then I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man! Like, the wife and the man with the wife, whoever they were, could hold the baby off away from me. Mm-hmm. And now I've got to smell your unclean baby. I feel bad for the baby because that baby needed a diaper change, right? But that was offensive.
Do you not change baby diapers on planes?
They could have. They didn't.
I mean, how do you go in the bathroom?
Anyway, going off on a tangent here, I think we've about hit that,
Yeah,
over
we
the
have.
head numerous times, and I think we're good to go. The point is, I just wanted to end off on that final thought. So I guess, if you're watching on YouTube, this is what, if you've made it this far, you can comment on this question. How do you feel about people being offended after they've invaded other people's private conversations? Outside of body shaming, and then how do you feel about body shaming? Do you think that we should be shaming people or should not be? I think we should be more respectful, but I do recognize that some people won't change without harsher motivation. So I really don't know. I lean more towards you shouldn't do it, but at the same time, I don't outright dismiss it. Yeah. I don't know. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I think being mean to people is bad regardless, but constructive criticism is totally different. And
you know what?
And being fat, if someone tells you you're fat, I don't know. Get offended if you want, but you probably shouldn't.
But
if
people
you're
are
fat.
But even if you go to someone and say, "Hey, man, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I really want to encourage you to do better," they're gonna be like, "Oh, how dare you?"
Well, I agree that constructive criticism is the best way to address things, just from my own personal experience. But I would say if you really do care about somebody and their health, then you should say something. If they get offended, then you've done your part. That's on them. Maybe they'll take it to heart at some point after the initial offense.
I figured it out.
What?
I know exactly what you need to do to make someone better their lives.
you have to go tell all your fat friends that they're fat.
No. You need to get a 6'3" blonde guy with a cocky attitude, and then you need to set up an 80s style, like one of these movies where the mean jockey guy takes the cute girl and the girl's like, I'm so sorry. And then you're like, you got to beat him in a karate tournament. And then they start working out. You do like an 80s montage, like jazzercising. And then it's all part of an intervention. But it's like a role play where they think they're actually in an 80s movie.
When they think they're trying to actually win the girl.
Yep. And then at the end, she's like, it was great working with all of you. Here's my card. I have a headshot and resume. And then the guy's devastated. But now he's healthy, in shape. There you go.
Would you gain all that weight back?
Okay, but anyway, I guess that's about it. So thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode of the Culture War Podcast. We do this every Sunday at 4 p.m. You can follow me on Twitter at Timcast, and you can watch this, the video version, on YouTube, youtube.com/Timcast. It's also up on iTunes, and I don't know if we're on Google Play yet, but we should be. And thanks for hanging out. Do you guys want to mention your social media?
Go ahead.
I'm on Twitter at MomesMolly, MomesMolli.
And I'm on Twitter as It's Reactor. That's ITSREACTOR.
Cool. Well, again, thank you all so much for hanging out on this week's episode, and we will see you all next week.